Hi, Tavo. I just finished listening to your Convergent Comparative Theology argument video, and um, I appreciate you putting the work into that. I did see your comment that it is not fully fleshed out. Um, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna struggle to keep this short because you didn't help your case in this video. I'm going to try to lay this out as concisely as I can and not repeat myself like I did in the other, and kind of stick with my points here. But you did yourself no favors in this video whatsoever from a skeptical, rational standpoint. So here we go. Um, First, my first critique is just when you started off by saying that what you had found was astounding. Um, okay, based on my conclusion at the end, I'm going to say astoundingly bad. I'm just going to be blunt. Yeah. Okay, argument one. And this is, I kind of laid out some of my disagreements with this in the first response video that I did. And the first problem is that you're starting off with a theistic framework. I don't understand why you're doing that. I really don't. Why are you assuming a theistic framework? If you have a specific video on why you think a specific theistic framework is the necessary starting point, why you think you have definitively shown that it is or should be the starting point, point me to it. I'll watch that one. But I see no reason why I should accept that as a starting point. And partially because I've read the Bible. I'm not going to get into the Bible, but I've read the Bible. And I don't think there's a good reason, based on reading the Bible, to believe that Yahweh is actually real. I think the Bible makes him a contradictory figure. I don't believe that contradictions exist. I don't believe that Jesus is real. I don't, if you saw my syllogism that I posted today, then you know that I don't think there was literally anything for Jesus to do. So I see no reason to accept the theistic framework. So first, you have to prove theism true. Then you have to specifically prove that Yahweh is true. Then prove that both Jesus and the Holy Spirit are divine entities. You also have to prove the Trinity if you're a Trinitarian. If you're not, okay, that's fine. But you also have to prove that Jesus did actually fulfill the messianic prophecies and is the Messiah. And I'm quite confident that in their original context, Jesus didn't fulfill a single one, and you can't demonstrate that. Even beyond all that, you are assuming, because of your starting point with the theistic framework, another completely unjustifiable starting point, which is that Jesus' message is divine. Why? I mean, why should I expect, given the other significant religions that you've linked and kind of compared in this video, there were also some really amazing messages in there. I could call those divine. I don't think Islam counts as one. I think Islam is like even worse than Christianity. But Zen Buddhism, there's some parts of Hinduism, Taoism. There's a lot of other religions I don't really know much about, but I know a little bit about those. And beyond that, beyond even, you have to prove that his message is actually divine and not something that any human, a particular human could come up with. I look at, modern day. And as I mentioned in my previous response, humans today have managed to send probes beyond the heliosphere. And that was done 60 years ago, 50 years ago. I mean, I was barely born when those things were launched. I was a kid. What was it, 70s? Okay, so I was a kid, yeah. We recently sent a probe through the sun's corona. Are those not really incredible things? Why should I think that Jesus was divine and his message was divine? I don't get it. I mean, you haven't proven that yet. So I'm not starting with that position. Okay, observing that other religions like things about Jesus and admire things about him. Um, so what? What does that say about its truth value? Again, you have not yet established that these things are true. So what? Um, your point about a rational thinker wouldn't expect that other religions might absorb or modify aspects of Christianity or of other religions. I mean, this is just patently false based on any study of comparative ancient Near Eastern theologies. The similarities between the Babylonian, the Akkadian, the Egyptian, the Hebrew, religion, Zoroastrian religions. I mean, it's quite obvious that Christianity and Judaism both absorbed a lot from both Greco-Roman influences and from Zoroastrian influences. So, yes, of course we would expect that. It's happened all throughout history. That's just, I mean, that point is useless. I cannot even imagine how you took that and said, wow, I think this is a really good point. No, a simple comparative theology. I mean, I took one comparative theology class, I think my freshman year in college, that was 35 years ago. And I know that this is simply false. The veneration of Jesus, all the quotes that you included, it's kind of odd that you never included a single one before the 20th century. I don't believe. Maybe that Hindu one was prior, but okay, that's just supported by the fact that the spread of information in the last couple hundred years has become massively easier, and more people have had access to information about other religions, and so they start noticing similarities and say, hey, this part of this other religion, that kind of fits with our theology as well, and so hey, we think that Jesus may fit in with that and could be essentially like maybe a prophet in another land in a slightly different way. Big deal. I mean, again, this has happened, for all of known recorded history. And with the spread of information and the ease of spread of information in the last 200 years, I think this is just normal. Another point, did you look for non-confirmative figures? Did you try to falsify your theory in any way? Any of this? I'm not sure. I mean, I see that it almost looked like you were looking for data to support it. What did you do to falsify your theory? Were there any figures in any of those religions who rejected Jesus or his teachings, or said, hey, we don't think that he's a good thing? I mean, cherry picking quotes is easy. I'm sorry, creationists and apologists do that all the time, and they take them terribly out of context. This is not a good look. This is not good evidence. This is meaningless. Let's see, another point. Source, please, a citation for the Messianic Jews. You said millions of them. I tried to just do a quick look, and I got basically anywhere between 350,000 to maybe 1.5 million on the very upper end. That's not millions. Okay, 1.5 millions if you want to count that as, I mean, it's not multiple millions, it's like 1.5 of the one. So that looks like you're playing fast and loose with numbers on that, unless you actually got data. And if you've got data, then create a document, something like that, and list all your sources on it, and put it in the more the description box of your video. Same thing, like well, I'll get to that in just a minute. And then at I think around 6:33, you made just a huge leap when you said that almost every one of these other religions point towards Jesus. No, they don't point towards him. They just say, hey, Jesus has some interesting things that we think kind of fits within our theological framework, and he's maybe also a divine figure like ours. Okay, so other religions that you don't believe are actually true are saying, hey, there's some cool things about this, and that fits your confirmation bias. That must mean that they're leaning towards Jesus and Christianity as the truth. So what? I mean, I'm sorry, that's a huge leap. In addition, Christianity and Islam both are highly exclusive, and that's the process of development in a lot of theological issues there, so Christianity and Islam don't allow for syncretism very easily, at least not officially, even though it's happened all through history. So, but those other religions, Hinduism, it's already got a whole pantheon of gods. Buddhism, whether you believe it's got a god or not, because different sects, believe there is. Some are theistic Buddhists, some are atheistic Buddhists. So, I mean, you're painting some of these religions with a really broad brush. Not effective. This is just not good. Like I say, again, none of that says anything about whether it's true. It just says that they think there's some valuable or important or relatively similar information. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, moving on to argument 2. I'm already at 10 and a half minutes. Okay, let me see if I can speed this up. Argument 2, about the number of identifiable figures. Don't just say, hey, if you're interested in that information, ask for it. Yes, post it. Put it in your thing. I mean, okay, like the 14 identifiable figures with attributed teachings. Do those include the 12 apostles? If so, we actually have 0 teachings from 10 of the apostles. We got, Peter and James. Those are the only 2 apostles that we actually have canonical books in the Bible from. So if you're including the other apostles, then no, you don't have 14. You've got Peter, James, Paul, then maybe you want to talk about Clement. I can't remember exactly what year Clement was, but then you start getting on to after that. So if you're claiming the apostles, no, you don't have 14. Forget about that. You need to post the list of those names for all of these in a document in your sources. So that's just kind of a meaningless thing at this point until you've supported it. The diversity of sources. So what? What does that have to do with truth value? You keep bringing up all of these ideas that simply don't have anything to do with truth, whether or not the claim is true. None of these things speak to truth. It just means that, hey, these ideas seem to have gotten a lot of traction. Okay, are they true? So then you go on to, a rational, logical thinker. Let's see, what did you say? I've got a quick screenshot here. We would probably choose to follow the theology with the most numerous attestations. I'm sorry, logical fallacy much? Argumentum ad populum, Texas sharpshooter fallacy, but mostly argumentum ad populum. No, a rational logical thinker should not necessarily choose the theology with the most numerous attestations. You could have the correct theology with 2 and a really bad wrong theology with 50, and it doesn't make the 50 correct. Logical fallacy. This point just crash and burn. I'm sorry. No, you're not helping your case. So, argument 3, Jesus as a persistent legacy, as an important thinker. Okay, this one really, really got me. Okay, sure, if you're assuming a theistic paradigm, you're assuming a personal God, you're assuming that God wants to show up on earth in the appearance of a human being during an extremely primitive period of human knowledge and history that couldn't even reliably record anything, that didn't even know where the sun went at night. So, no real rational critical thought here, except in a very, very small percent of the population. Mostly, the vast majority was illiterate, ignorant, unlettered, didn't know anything that we know today. You assume that this God in human form on earth wants to sacrifice itself to save itself, to save us. It wants to sacrifice itself to save us from the things it will do to us if we don't accept its highly conditional offer. Because, if we don't accept it, we're going to hell. Okay, sure. If you accept all of those premises, a rational thinker might choose Jesus. Probably because that's the only one that happens to fit all those criteria. So it's like saying, hey, I believe I'm right because I said that I'm right. Wow, logic there. You're making these really long, fancy arguments that boil down to really simple fallacies and bad thinking. Just, the number of assumptions you have to already accept before you get to being able to say, sure, Jesus is the one you should choose. You have to assume all of them, and you haven't supported any of those. Just driving me nuts here at this point. You put a whole bunch of quotes from, critical, important figures. I don't want quotes. Post your sources. I have seen, especially, and if you really are a critical, rational thinker and you followed Christian apologetics much, then you know that apologists do a really bad job of cherry picking and quote mining. It's one of their absolutely worst things. I mean, they cherry pick what Darwin said, for crying out loud. And, it's embarrassing. Don't provide quotes, provide your sources. You're making these arguments based on you're establishing yourself as a person of authority, as a person with skills in doing research and evaluating claims critically, and you're just providing quotes. Color me not impressed, Tavo. I'm not impressed. Provide the sources, and the context. Quotes. Okay, biggie. Historical reliability of the Gospels. You lost me on this one. I quit. I just quit. If you think that the Christian Bible, New Testament, is historically reliable, I don't know what to say to you. I truly am struggling to accept your claim that you are a lifelong atheist. I would accept that you were a lifelong non-believer, but to say anything about the Bible, the New Testament, as historically reliable, I just had to laugh and facepalm. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can still see the bruise on my forehead. I facepalmed so hard. It's a good thing I just used my hand and not the desk, because that would have really hurt. What are you doing? Historical reliability? Really? Okay. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Like I said, when I got to that one, I quit. I'm not even going to bother listening to your last few minutes on that, because that's just pointless. I would love to hear a thorough, detailed response to all these. Like I said, maybe we can talk about it online, in person in February. That would be cool. I said, honestly, this month is kind of bad. Dealing with some major health issues from my mom, and things are, stressful at the moment. But I said that I was going to watch your video and respond to it, and I have, and I actually managed to keep it under 19 minutes, even with all of that information. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to stop here, upload it, and would like to know what you think.